Hello, I'm Rebecca Flaherty, and today we're going to be making this pattern in Procreate. If you're a regular here, feel free to use the timestamps to skip to the beginning of the tutorial, and if you're new here, then welcome to the Pattern Makers Toolkit. This tutorial is an intermediate level one, and I'm going to be using another template from my Arts and Crafts wallpaper set. You can follow along and make this pattern freehand if you'd like, without the texture overlays and the template. It's another rectangular design, and you can choose between two layouts for this one. The middle section is designed to fit around either way, so you can flip it horizontally and switch between this version and this version. Now, I don't know about you, but I really love Morris & Co.'s acanthus designs, but those twisting leaves can be so hard to draw. This pattern features a leaf shape that I've borrowed from the Compton Wallpaper, this one here, and this was previously thought to have been the last print William Morris designed, but it was probably actually by one of his best mates, John Henry Dearle, who was another Morris & Co designer. You can find a link in the description for a Pinterest board full of William Morris and John Henry Dearle designs, which are in the public domain if you want to do any borrowing for your own designs. If you've never made a diamond repeat pattern in Procreate before, then this beginner-friendly tutorial here will help you learn exactly how it works and covers all of the why as well as the how. So let's start by importing our canvas. I'm going to go from the gallery screen, import, and let's bring in this one here, 5 acanthus. Always import PSD or layered files from the gallery screen like this, because other methods can mean all the layers get flattened into one. So get into the habit of importing your files into Procreate this way. So let's have a look at the layer structure of these. We've got the textures up at the top here, then we've got the layers, we've got our pattern folder, there's no extra group in this one, so all of our final illustration will go in there, and then we've got the 2 sketch layers here. We've got a template, and then we've got this empty layer here. You may be used to seeing a diamond here, or perhaps a different kind of OG shape here in the sketch group, but on this one I've added in an extra guide in the middle, so you can use this as a border framework when you come to design your own layouts and you get the hang of how these work. So we only have to draw the black motifs, and the rest of it is going to be made by duplicating around the outside. These templates are designed to give you a super quick start in making a beautiful pattern, so you can just trace directly over the template and add your own flower and leaf shapes. They're perfect as a cozy colouring or drawing activity, but not only that, following a template is actually a really good way to learn the mechanics of a pattern layout, which is why I make these tutorials and canvases. So once you get the hang of how they work, you can turn the template layer off and use this as a guide to make your own unique patterns. So starting on the Draw Here layer, I'm going to grab my Arts and Crafts brush set, and we're going to use this one here to start with, and I'm going to stamp one of these into this flower here. So make sure I'm on this Draw Here first layer, and we'll start by stamping one of those into there. Then I'm going to add a layer so I can move this next part around a bit more freely. I'm going to grab this flower here, I'm going to stamp one of these into each of these black circles. So let's start with this one, and I'll tap transform, turn snapping and magnetics off so I can move this around a bit more freely, and just resize this and move it around to fill this space here. Then I can duplicate this one and use it to fill these 2 other spots as well. And I'm going to flip these around so that the curves are going in different directions for a bit of extra interest in the pattern. Once I have all of those where I want them, I'm going to merge all of these layers down together. And then we've got all of our leaves in place, so we don't need to trace over those in the sketch layer, but I'm going to offset this and put these around the outside so we know where they will be. So duplicate this layer, tap transform, turn your snapping and magnetics back on, and then we're going to drag this down here and snap it into this corner here. You see those orange lines there. Then we're going to duplicate this bottom one again, tap transform and snap this one up into the top corner till we have those orange lines up there. And you'll see these flowers are now filling the spaces on the blue around the outside. And then I'm going to repeat that into these 2 corners as well. So duplicating the bottom layer, snapping it over here, duplicate this bottom one again, and lastly snap it down here into the bottom right. And there you can see how these shapes in the middle fill the spots around the outside. So I'm going to merge these top 4 layers together, and I'm going to invert the colours on that so we can see which ones are the outside ones, and then the pink ones are the ones that we'll actually have to draw. That's all we need to do now in our sketch folder, so we can now start to move on to illustrating in the pattern group. So let's turn on our pattern folder, tap on this pattern marker there and add a layer to start drawing on. I'm going to start with this flower here, which is eventually going to be cream, but that doesn't show up well on white. I'll just work with this with any old random colour for now. Just use this darker orange colour. Background's going to be this dark blue colour here, but I don't want to change it to that just yet because a dark iPad screen acts like a mirror on camera, so you don't need to see it at my nose while I'm drawing, so we'll save the background colour change for later. So trace over this flower, and I'm going to use the drawing brush. Zoom in on here, I'm on my new layer, and I'm going to just trace in this flower shape here. Then I'm going to fill that. Then I'm going to add a layer above. I'll just turn this off for now and we'll draw in these little circle details. And I'm going to use this dark colour here, which is the same colour that I'll be using for the background. And then I'm going to fill in these little gaps between the circles as well. You could use colour drop for this, but I think it will actually do a better job if I just colour them in. There we go. And then I'm also going to draw these little lines coming out of the flower on this layer too. But I'm going to draw them going into the flower because I find I can draw smoother lines starting small and then getting bigger, as opposed to like doing them like that. There we go, we can turn this one on now. And that's how that's looking. Just going to go and fix these few little gaps here that I've missed. So now I'm going to add a layer underneath, and I'm going to draw these leaves and stems here, and these are all going to be one solid piece, and I'm going to use this light grey colour for those. You can use any shape you like for these leaves as long as you stick within the area of the template. Now we'll draw these smaller pointy flowers. I'm going to use a thinner brush size, and I'm using this dark colour here that we'll be using for the background later. And I'm just going to trace over all of these outer line work parts, not these little line bits yet, just the outlines. And I need to do this on a new layer. We can actually use this dark blue one here because that's the same colour. So I'm going to skip these parts in the middle and just do the outer outlines. And then repeat that for the other flowers. Now I'm going to make this layer a reference layer. So tap on this layer here and tap on reference, and then it will use this line work as a guide for filling layers we add underneath. So I'm going to add a layer underneath it now, and I'm going to use this mid blue here to fill the middle part of these. And then if we zoom in and I turn this layer off, you can see it's just filled underneath there using this layer as a guide. Let's just do the other two now. And then I'm going to do the petals around the outside in this yellow colour. If you want to keep all your colour edits much easier, do each colour on a separate layer, or if you're short on layers you can do them all on the same layer and then alpha lock and scribble over them. I'm just going to do mine on a separate layer this time, I think. So fill all the outside ones with this golden yellow colour. Then we can hide these and carry on and fill in this last piece of line work now. So underneath the layer we've been using a reference, add a layer, and we'll do that on this layer. So I'm going to use this, not quite the darkest blue, the next one, and I'll do these lines in that colour. Then add another layer, and I'm going to use, well, I will be using this cream colour here. Maybe it will show up enough. That probably does show up enough. I can change the colour on the flower now that we've drawn it. So we're going to repeat that on all of the other flowers, and while I'm here and got this colour, I'll fill this layer. There we go. So I'll just repeat that on all of these other flowers now. There we go, and now we can turn these 2 fill layers on, and that's how these flowers are looking. I'll change the background to that dark blue colour now, and you can see if I turn the sketch off, how that fades into the background and you get that nice separation. We've lost that nice curve detail up there, but we're going to put that back on in another layer later. Just turn the background off for now. Maybe we could turn the textures off as well. So now we're going to draw these acanthus leaves, and because they're symmetrical, we only need to draw one. So let's come down to the bottom here, add a layer, then we'll come up to our canvas actions, go to canvas, turn on the drawing guide, edit drawing guide, turn on symmetry, options, make sure you've got vertical checked and assisted drawing on there. Then you can tap done, and whatever we draw on this layer is going to be mirrored over on that side. So I'm going to grab this next darkest blue and just trace over this outer shape now. Then we need to turn this layer off as a reference, and then we can come back to this one and fill in those shapes there. Then you can reduce the opacity on this so you can see the lines underneath. And I'm going to go back up to this layer that has the dark blue on it, change that colour and a thinner brush. And also we need to turn drawing assist on for this one. And then you can just add some extra line work in on these. I'll put a link to the Compton Wallpaper in the description if you want to use that as a reference for drawing these lines in like I have. The last thing to do now is to turn drawing assist off this layer and add some line work onto these rather plain looking leaves. And that is actually all that we have to do for this one. So we can turn the background on now, and you'll see how all of these weird bits that are sticking out there just fade away. I can turn the sketch off. Oh, I know what we need to do. We need to add these bits onto the flowers. So let's add a layer above this. Grab that mid blue colour. Let's turn the opacity down on this layer and put our sketch back on. And then we can just, over the top, draw this back in and just merge it in with the top of that pointy shape there. Just do that again on the others. There we go. And then this one over here. There we go. Now we've finished all the drawing. Put the opacity back up on this one. Hide the sketch, and you should have something like that at this point. So that's all the drawing done, and then we can build out the tile. So let's duplicate our pattern group, tap on it and flatten it, and then bring it up out of our layers here, and then we can turn all of that off and it's there to go back to if we need it. I'm going to turn the drawing guide off now so that we don't have this little mark going down. And we can also put the textures back on so we can see how nice that looks. So take the alpha lock off this layer, add a mark to these corners, duplicate this, and then we're going to snap it up into this corner here. Duplicate again, tap transform, and snap it down into this corner, and then also on the other side as well. Then pinch those top 4 together, erase these marks in the middle. And before we erase these 2 marks here, those are actually going to be useful for a second. Remember I said at the beginning you can have this pattern flipped around either way. So this part in the middle, if we flip it horizontally, this will fit into the template either way round. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this layer, transform this one around the other way, and then erase the corner marks off both of these. And then when we do the copy all to grab a snapshot of the canvas, I'll hide one and then copy all and then show the other one and then copy all, so we can do a copy of both as a comparison. So we've erased the marks off that one. Now we can erase them on this one as well. So let's turn this one off first of all and swipe down with 3 fingers and copy all. Come up to the top here, swipe down again and paste. Let's hide that one, put this one on, swipe down again to copy all, and then come up to the top here and paste. So there we've got 2 different pattern tiles, and now we just need to test that this is all tiling properly. So first of all, we need to add a layer underneath the tiles and fill it with a contrasting colour. I've got white here, and then if there's any gaps in the pattern, those white seams will show through. So let's hide this top one and work on this one first of all. And I'll hide everything else underneath so that this snaps a lot easier. So tap transform, make sure you've got snapping and magnetics on. Bring this into the middle and you'll see 1800 by 2250. Duplicate it and snap it into this corner. Then zoom into the middle there and just make sure you've got no seams down the middle there. Then you can pinch those 2 together, duplicate, and snap this down to the bottom. Check your middle seam there, and that's looking okay, so we can pinch those together. So that's version 1 of this wallpaper. Let's hide that now. Show this one, and do the same with this one. There we go. So this is version 1 here, and this one is version 2. It's a nice way to build a bit of extra interest into your patterns, so you can use whichever one you prefer. I think I'll just stick with this one for now and maybe put this into repeat in a smaller scale again. So let's grab this and just snap it and then just repeat that at the smaller scale. If you want to get your hands on this set of 6 floral arts and crafts canvases, you can find them in my Etsy store, and Pattern Makers Toolkit members get 10% off. Pattern Makers Toolkit is a bit like a Patreon group, except it's all free. I send out 1 and only 1 email per month with a freebie in there to help you on your pattern making journey, as well as early access links to some of my YouTube tutorials and full access to all the assets in the resource library. Plus, members get 10% off all the canvases and brushes in my Etsy store. New for 2025, the email also has a set of seasonal prompts each month for helping you plan, illustrate and upload in advance for the key shopping dates in your print-on-demand stores like Spoonflower. If you'd like to join, just click on the link up here or in the description. If you want to see more from me, you can find all of my in-depth classes on Skillshare, and if you're not already a member there, you can get 1 month for free when you sign up with this link. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube for your weekly dose of pattern making fun. Have fun, stay creative, and I will see you soon.